Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this podcast brought to you by Best Ever Conference, live from Salt Lake City and sponsored by Pre-iShare. This is Dr. Lydia Essary, a practicing physician, dermatopathologist in Dallas, also co-founder of Lift Equity Invest, a company focused on helping busy professionals create passive income through investing in commercial real estate. Today we have a very special guest. He is one of my colleagues. He's also a practicing physician and ophthalmologist in Ohio, and this is Dr. Steve Suh. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for inviting me on, Lydia.
How are you enjoying the conference?
Oh, it's been great. Yeah, I've learned a lot and made a lot of connections here.
Excellent. So as I was saying, he's a practicing ophthalmologist. Why don't you tell us about yourself, your medical practice at this time, and how you got started, how your interest in investing in real estate started?
Sure. So, as you said, I'm an ophthalmologist full-time in private practice in the Columbus, Ohio area. And in terms of my investing journey, like many people, I invested money in 2000, 2001, and 2008, and saw my 401k become a 201k. And I was really frustrated with that, so I decided I need to take control of my investing, and I looked into other asset classes and fell upon real estate. So in terms of what I've done in real estate, my very first property was actually my office condo, where my practice is located, and that's been giving some nice cash flow because it's nice to be able to take money out of one pocket and put it in the other pocket, so you're paying rent to yourself. So that's been a great asset for us. I also got into some small residential properties. I had a single-family home, a duplex, and a fourplex. However, I didn't really like residential real estate quite as much because a lot of tenant issues. Even though I didn't manage it myself. I had property management do this. However, I never really enjoyed being a landlord just because of all the hassles from. I felt like I was having to constantly babysit the property manager to make sure they're doing a good job. So I eventually sold those out, and then I discovered the world of syndications and commercial real estate. And so I delved into that. Didn't have a good start to that. I did some oil and gas syndications early on, about 15 years ago, and those ended up being actually a Ponzi scheme. So I didn't really have a good start in syndication investing, but I stuck with real estate because I think it's a great asset class in terms of diversifying your money. I still have a 401k, by the way, so I'm not anti-401k. I'm not anti-stocks and bonds. I think you need to have a well-diversified portfolio in order to be successful in any investing. So in terms of syndications, it's been a great find for me in terms of having cash flow and getting a nice appreciation from real estate without having to do the work.
Excellent. So you started your journey, as you mentioned, with your own medical office. That was back when? When did you start?
It was about 2005.
Okay, very good. And you mentioned also an important point that you did some residential and you didn't like it because all the work involved. Mm-hmm. You and I have something in common, the fact that we're busy physicians. So it's something, what would you recommend to a young physician, somebody out of training 5 to 10 years? I mean, somebody who is not worrying about that, let's say, if they have their 401k or they have extra cash because, thanks to our incomes, we can afford to separate some money and pick the right investment. Or why would real estate be a good option for a physician?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that real estate in general is a very good asset class because you can get tax benefits in addition to cash flow and that kind of thing. And I think in terms of simplifying the whole process, I think syndication investing is the easiest because you don't have to worry about the tenants, the toilets, the trash, that kind of thing that can happen to your place. And that's what was one of the frustrating things was after one of my tenants would leave, some of them left the place in horrible condition. So I had to spend all this money to upgrade the unit again, and that pretty much wiped out my profit from that. So,
oh my God!
Yeah,
oh,
right.
Really?
So very, very frustrating. So, and it happened more than one time. Yeah. So I wrote a blog, and this doesn't necessarily apply to physicians only, but I think to pretty much anyone in general who wants to have a steady or a little bit more steady investment.
So please tell us about that.
Yeah, so I wrote this blog article, and I said that commercial real estate investing passively in syndications is the perfect investment. And what I mean by that, it's a mnemonic. So the P stands for passive. So it's an LP or limited partner investor, you really after you do all your work up front, the due diligence on the sponsor, your due diligence on the asset, the location, etc. Then you wire the money, and then that's it. You have no control over it, and that's one of the faults, if you will, of syndication investing passively, is you have no control. It's illiquid. You can't get your money back necessarily. So, but it is a passive investment, and will hopefully make you some good money. The E in perfect would be equity growth. So as you know, with real estate, the tenants are paying down your loan or your mortgage, and you get some nice, hopefully you get some nice equity growth through appreciation as well. The R is reduced risk. In terms of single-family homes versus, say, a multifamily, there's going to be reduced risk in terms of passively investing in an apartment complex, because when I owned my single-family home, when that tenant moved out, my occupancy went from 100% to 0%. And if you are part of a syndication that owns an apartment complex, it goes from, if I have one person move out and 100 of those were rented out, now my occupancy is now 99% and not 0%. So that reduces your risk. And also from a legal standpoint, as an LP investor in a syndication, my only liability is the money that I put into it, the original capital I put into that asset. So there's no liability. And to contrast that with owning a single-family home, of course I put that into an entity, an LLC. That does protect me. However, you still have some liability there, because if they can sue you for anything. But if someone trips and falls at the apartment complex that I'm an LP investor, I have absolutely I can't get sued, in other words, because of that, because of the way the structure is set up. I'm not a general partner. So that's the R in perfect. And then the F is forced appreciation. And what that means is there's two types of appreciation. There's, if you buy and hold something, in terms of real estate, you're going to have organic appreciation. But forced appreciation means you take maybe like a C or B class apartment complex, you renovate the units, you're able to increase the rent, which increases your net operating income, which then will ultimately increase the value of your apartment complex. So you get that forced appreciation. And then the second E is economies of scale, where, again, I had property manager for my single-family home, and they took care of that. But if I had 50 single-family homes all over the city, or maybe in multiple cities, I may have to have multiple property managers, as opposed to having like one property manager for a 100-unit, for example. So that you get the economies of scale that way.
It becomes cost-effective.
Right.
Yeah.
And then C is cash flow. And, of course, you get cash flow with most real estate that you're renting out. And syndication investing is no different. So you get nice cash flow in general. And then the last one is T, and I want to spend a little bit more time with this one. This is tax advantages with commercial real estate investing. So we all know about depreciation with our homes or with commercial real estate. There's something called bonus depreciation that you can get up front. And the nice thing about bonus depreciation is that can offset, that's considered a passive loss on paper, so that can offset any passive gains, which would include your cash-on-cash returns you're getting throughout the year from that investment. And then you can also get gains from the appreciation at the back end when you finally sell the property. So you may end up not end up with any taxes on any of those gains. And then, since we're talking about physicians here, a lot of physicians, especially surgeons, may be owners of a surgery center. There may be nephrologists who own dialysis centers, or GI doctors are part of surgery centers too for their scoping capabilities, imaging facilities for radiologists. So a lot of people, physicians, may own these other entities, and that can be, or should be, probably considered passive income versus their W-2 income that they get from their office employment. So since that is passive income, for example, let me take a step back. So I own my own surgery center with some other doctors, and that is considered passive income. And those passive gains that I've earned over the past several years, I have not had to pay any taxes on that because of the depreciation I've gotten from commercial real estate investing as an LP investor.
That's awesome. Very important point, physicians. I love that mnemonic. So it's called the perfect, right? And you have a
Correct.
blog written about that?
There's a blog written, yes, yes.
If somebody wants to review that, because in a nutshell, he put all the main features, I would say the main benefits of investing in commercial real estate, just to highlight the one that he mentioned first, the hands-off. As a passive investor in a syndication, you really have to do very little, just determine if this is the right investment for you, the right general partner team. He mentioned the tax benefits are huge. Of course, you cannot absorb everything just in a single sitting, but you learn that depreciation is one of the main features, I would say, that a syndication offers that you don't see that in Wall Street investments. No, that I'm not anti-Wall Street
Right.
either, but there are some advantages that you don't find there. And as physicians, we need to look for that. You mentioned another important point is that you have passive income coming through your ownership in the medical center, and passive losses can offset passive income, but it cannot offset active income.
Correct.
But there are other ways too that you can. People are very creative when they invest in real estate. There are other ways and other structures that you would need to check with your CPA. We learn because we are practicing investors, no, but we don't want to provide that kind of advice. At the end, every situation is different for every physician, but check it out. Also, when you consult with a CPA, make sure he knows about real estate investments, because not all CPAs know these true advantages. Is that your experience?
That
Steve?
is absolutely correct, yes. I actually changed my CPA once I started getting really involved in real estate because of that purpose, yes.
And you also are a co-founder of the Leftfield Investors. You guys go by LFI, right? Your
LFI, yes.
company. I love that. They have a mission of also helping individuals understand better their investment. Why don't you tell us more about LFI?
Yeah, so Leftfield Investors is a community of passive investors or LP investors. And what we do is we help educate them, and a big part of it is also networking. So on our website, which is leftfieldinvestors.com, you can go there and get a lot of information through the blog. We've got some videos via YouTube as well. And then we also have a podcast. We also have an in-field membership group, which is our paid inner circle membership group. And when you pay for that, you can actually get access to different tools. So if you're a serious investor, I think you should be involved in this kind of situation or this kind of deal, because you're going to be among peers, people who are very, very interested in limited partner investing in syndications, mainly real estate. So we have tools such as a sponsor screener. We have a deal analyzer. Pretty soon we're going to have what's called a sponsor rating system, kind of like Yelp for sponsors. And then probably our most popular thing is the private forum that we have, where we can talk about XYZ sponsor or ABC sponsor and compare notes with other people and see how their investments are doing. That's just been really invaluable as a tool. And I've even though I helped found this group, I've learned so much more in the last 4 years that we've been as a group that it's just really accelerated my own education. So Leftfield Investors is, I think, is an absolute must. Now, I will admit that there are other communities out there of LP investors, but we'd like to say that we're one of the better ones out there.
Right, great, excellent. For those of you who haven't heard these terms, I know the majority of our audience is probably a little bit informed, but for somebody, a newcomer, like I occasionally have an email like that, what is a GP, what is a sponsor, what is an LP, stands for limited partner. These are the passive investors, the people that don't have to go out and find a deal. And the general partners, GPs, or active investors, these are the people who actually have to do all the due diligence, make sure the numbers work, find the financials, insurance, etc., etc. There are a few physicians out there and some communities with active physicians. I would say I do this as a side activity because I'm a practice physician. Also, my recommendation would be, and see, let's see if Steve agrees, when you find a GP team, don't rely when you find a solo GP. It has to be, I would say, a minimum 3 people. There is a lot of work to do in a property. If we're thinking about a property that is at least 75 doors, And there has to be at least one who is a full-time asset manager. So don't just rely on somebody approaching you, offer this fabulous property. Get informed, but there are a lot of huge advantages. I wanted to touch base with you, Steve, about your experience, talking a little more about the tax benefits, or maybe ask you from your experience working with LPs, what is what your LPs like the most about all the benefits of these real assets?
Oh, well, I think I mentioned some of them. Obviously, the being passive is great because a lot of our members actually are like me. They're former landlords or they're phasing out of that business and they want to sell those assets off and then invest in syndication. So that's a huge plus, and especially since a lot of people still work full time, they just don't want to have that extra job.
The hands-off feature.
Yes.
Okay,
Right. Exactly.
listen to that. That's very important. Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
good.
So that's first and foremost because time is time, and you can't get that back. So I think that's really one of the big benefits. And then of course I think cash flow and growth of your wealth essentially because that's what real estate is about, right? I mean, real estate investing has been around for centuries, and there's no doubt that this is something that's very important to a lot of people and could certainly change the trajectory of when you retire. Because if you have a lot of cash flowing assets and doing well that way, maybe you can retire a year or 2 or 5 years earlier. And there's some people in my community who are actually pure passive investors, and that's pretty much their full-time gig. And again, as a passive investor, they're not really even doing that much, so they can retire off that income from their passive investments. And then, of course, you got all the tax advantages as well, and that can, of course, really ramp up your revenue stream, because we don't think about it. But if you let's go back to that surgery center example. Let's say it's not unusual for a surgeon to have maybe $100,000 of passive gains from the surgery center, but that surgeon is also probably in the 39.5% tax or whatever
Right,
whatever that high tax bracket. So it's plus you take a tax on the other taxes from their state, et cetera. So you're getting closer to 50%. So let's say their office gives them $500,000, $600,000, and then they have an extra $100,000 on top of that from their surgery center. That's going to be taxed. Half of that's going to be gone to Uncle Sam. So if you invest if you invest in two $50,000 deals, or maybe three $50,000 deals for $100,000 to $150,000 in, you could potentially get bonus depreciation in that year to offset that $100,000. So now, not only did you maybe get some cash flow throughout the year from those investments, you're also able to save $50,000. So you're not paying $50,000 to Uncle Sam. I mean, think about it. My last kid just graduated from college, but $50,000 could have paid easily for close to 1 year of college tuition. So that's something that was kind of invaluable to me, especially in the years that my kids were in college, because I was able to save money on my taxes on my surgery center income.
That's absolutely right. And you know what some colleagues do too? On top of that, they save the money. They just imagine, okay, there are $50,000 I didn't pay in taxes, so you invested that in college. No? Others come and reinvest it. No? They invested in some other property, which is going to get another depreciation, and they're going to get another saving, and it just start growing. I think calling it exponentially is a little exaggerated, but it's kind of quite going that way, no? Because you get paid back, or because you didn't pay taxes, you get this money, you get to keep it, you reinvest it, and keep reinvesting and reinvesting. It's something we couldn't get it if we were just doing stocks.
Absolutely, yeah.
We get dividends. It's true, stocks go sometimes good, sometimes low. Yeah, you can make a little money, but you gotta watch them closely. The good thing is that they are liquid. Also, keep in mind, these real estate investments, they're very good, but they are long-term in general. I mean, I would say the shortest is gonna be 18 months, 3 years, but imagine it's going to be like a 5-year hold. It could be a little longer even, but it's money that you were going to have other ways in the bank or invested in something else that was not producing very good returns. So it was great.
Yeah. And I did want to mention, I've invested in syndications for the past 15 years, and unfortunately I made a lot of mistakes. And those really, like I told you about the oil and gas debacle, I lost all my capital in those. And I still haven't been successful in all of my deals. So I actually wrote a book. It's called Avoiding Rookie Errors as a Leftfield Investor, and it's about my 20 lessons that I've learned in 14 years of syndication investing.
Excellent. What is the name of that book?
Avoiding Rookie Errors as a Left Field
Excellent.
Investor.
Yeah, keep it right because not many people write really about errors. There is nothing wrong with making mistakes because we all start somewhere, and I think it's great when somebody shares his experience. Doesn't make you a less effective investor. It's part of the process. Just like we do in medicine, we make errors and we just keep going trying to improve the system.
Right.
Excellent. Very very well. Anything else we can contribute that you think our young physicians or even experienced physicians that are not investing yet in real estate that you can think about?
I think I think it's always great to educate ourselves. I mean, as physicians, we've gone through a lot of schooling, a lot of training, and then we get zero business classes, we get zero investing classes, or unless we go out there and try to do that. So a lot of us have zero experience, and I was the same. And so I started educating myself. I think the thing that kind of got me rolling with real estate investing was that book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Which
exactly, that was my conversion book.
Every single real estate investor knows that book, right? But anyway, that kind of gives you the philosophy of why real estate investing is so important for cash flow and appreciation. So, it's all about educating yourself. Nowadays, we have many podcasts on real estate investing. It doesn't have to be syndication investing, but I mean, it is one of the easier avenues to go to first, especially for high net worth individuals, especially who don't have time. So I think that's a great way to just kind of get started by read blogs, listen to podcasts, read books on real estate investing, and then you'll kind of get the feel for how that's like. And then even then you're going to have my lesson number 2 is ignore naysayers in my book. So meaning, a lot of people are like, what are you doing that for? Why? Everybody invests in 401k. Everybody knows all this stuff. Well, when you lose 30-40% in the stock market crash, I mean, that kind of affects you. So I think it's good to have some money out there. And I think it was Morgan Stanley, I believe, who came out with an article, and of course they're known for stocks and bonds and that kind of thing. They actually came out and said that you should have, I think it was up to 20% of your portfolio in alternative assets, which mainly would be real estate.
Right, and actually, if you evaluate, I mean, people who have focused on real estate, they say most of the millionaires and now billionaires have a significant portion of their portfolio invested in real estate. If you go dig into what they're investing on, it's a good investment, but get informed, get educated.
Absolutely.
Don't join a team unless you know at least one of them very well, their style of work. Honorability, reliability. I check references personally. I have done a lot of passive investing, and I have enjoyed the depreciation that Steve mentioned a lot, because I'm in a structure that when my husband is the real estate professional, and we would need another podcast to describe what that is probably. But we're in the structure that with his losses, we can offset some of my active income because I still have active income. So there. And also, I would advise my colleagues, and this was told to me by another colleague, don't ask for advice to your financial advisor. Talk to an attorney or if you have a CPA who is real estate trained, because a financial advisor is going to tell you, oh, no, those are alternative assets. They're losing a client. If you ask somebody like them, they're not going to want you to quit investing in Wall Street. So the wrong person to ask a lawyer if you have one, or a well-trained CPA. But there is a lot of potential for cash flow, a lot of potential for depreciation. So I've been enjoying this in the past 4 years since I started the syndication, but I actually started investing in real estate way before that. And, Steve, it's been great to have you here. Do you have any final leads or points for the physician investor or in general healthcare investors?
Yeah, again, I think you need to educate yourself before getting to any sort of new investments. Educate yourself about the asset class, educate yourself about the location it's located in, and then just educate yourself about the sponsor. So and there's a lot of different things you need to be watching out for. So definitely it's a more quote-unquote active investment than stocks and bonds and mutual funds. But I think all the benefits which we mentioned here are very good, and you can really ramp up your wealth by investing in real assets.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. And you don't have to sacrifice your balance, your work and life balance, because if you're going to be just passive, it requires a little bit of time. Of course, nothing comes absolutely free, get educated, but it's something you can do as a side. It's the same time probably that you are investing in evaluating your stocks and your mutual funds, buying a different kind of asset. No? So if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to contact you, Steve?
Yeah, so my email is probably the best way. It's steve@leftfieldinvestors.com. And then, of course, our website is leftfieldinvestors.com. And they can also find my book on amazon.com. Just plug in Steve Suh, S-U-H, and they can find my book, Avoiding Rookie Errors as a left field investor.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for being here. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm another resource. No, you can find me at Lydia at liftequityinvest.com, and that's lift as the elevator. Some people type life. I've seen that. No? It's Lift Equity Invest. Okay, thank you very much for joining us today. And I want to say the best ever conference podcast stage here at the conference 2024 in Salt Lake City, and our sponsors, the pre-iShare. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun.